In a 2011 interview, Eddie Van Halen confirmed that his playing is nothing like Clapton, Beck, Page, or Hendrix. He said he liked Jimmy Page for the songs, but solo-wise the only guy was Clapton to him. However, Dweezil Zappa, who knew Edward very well and hung out with him many times, said he hears more Jeff Beck in Edward than Clapton. I hear it mainly showing up in phrases where he's using the vibrato bar, or he's playing open string licks, or the string bending that he does. His intonation and the way he gets to the notes is similar to Jeff, says Zappa. In fact, Eddie did listen to Jeff Beck's records and met him for the first time in the mid-70s. He hung out with Jeff and learned some stuff from him. Among other things, Jeff Beck showed Edward the trick on keeping the tremolo bar in tune. In the aforementioned 2011 interview, Eddie said, "I didn't get into him until 1975's jazz fusion album, Blow by Blow. Just the instrumentalness of it. And 1976 Wired. Interesting stuff in there. I guess it was just experimentation in there that I liked." Jeff Beck is definitely a standalone. You never know what the hell he's going to do. My brother and I were in France 20 years ago, and Jeff Beck was playing. And he was doing a rockabilly thing. And we were like, what the hell is this? You never know what to expect with him. And just for information, Jeff Beck had been inspired by Billy Cobham's Spectrum album with Tommy Bolan on lead guitar. That album was huge at the time. And Eddie was also a fan of Tommy Bolan. Van Halen covered The Grind by Tommy Bolan during their club days in the mid-70s. Jeff Beck used to play a tribute to Tommy Bolan on Stratus. They were actually good buddies. Bolan opened for Jeff Beck in his final live appearance on 3rd of December 1976, and they both posed backstage for his final photo. Hours later, Tommy Bolan died. So Eddie loved Jeff Beck for his instrumental music. When Australian rock band Baby Animals toured with Van Halen during their 1992 tour, Baby Animals guitarist Dave Leslie befriended Eddie Van Halen. They both hung out a lot. One time, Dave got a Music Man guitar as a gift from Edward. How cool. They jammed together a lot backstage. Dave said they played AC/DC, stuff like Riff Raff and some other tunes. They once played Deep Purple's Highway Star. They played Lead Boots from Jeff Beck's Wired album. And one time Van Halen did Cream's Crossroads on stage during a sound check, and Edward played the solo from the live Crossroads Cream version note for note, and that's quite a feat. I had a guitar teacher who did that. Dweezil Zappa was there. The lead singer of Baby Animals was his girlfriend. So he recorded a video of Eddie Van Halen playing Jeff Beck's Lead Boots during a backstage jam. Jeff Beck commented on Eddie Van Halen several times in interviews. He praised Ed's tapping technique, but he also criticized him for being stuck in that style. Here are Jeff Beck's quotes on Eddie Van Halen. He was the great white hope when he did the solo on Michael Jackson's Beat It. I'd seen him, and I don't like the speed tapping style very much, but he had it down. I once saw him play a blues solo, and it was astonishing. He really can play. But he was on the booze and objectionable a lot of the time. I suppose what people are pointing at is Van Halen for being the innovator and the one that committed tapping, hammer-on, and harmonic screams to tape before anybody else. That's quite right. It's something he should get credit for. I mean, those guys like Van Halen are so great, but they seem to be stuck in that kind of stuff. Still, he's got the most amazing technique. You've got to take your hat off to him for that. The speed and the frantic element. I could do well to learn from him some of those tricks that he pulls. And that's Jeff Beck talking there from January 1985 issue of Guitar World. He brought tapping to the forefront, and I still think he was one of the tastiest players doing it. It wasn't his fault that all these other horrendous players tried to emulate him. I actually saw Eddie play some blues once, and it was really beautiful. It would be great to hear him play more in that style. Funny that Jeff Beck points out mostly Eddie Van Halen's tapping technique, whereas Eddie did much more than that. Ed got a great guitar tone. He built awesome guitars and amps, and he was a great rhythm player. I mean, amazing rhythm player. Also, funny that Jeff Beck said that he loved Ed's blues playing, while Eric Clapton called it horrible. Oh man, so anyway, sadly, both Eddie Van Halen and Jeff Beck are not with us anymore, and man, I miss them greatly. Eddie Van Halen died on October 6, 2020, and Jeff Beck died on January 12th, 2023. Rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen and Jeff Beck.